you spoke to when you were a younger child and that being where the anxiety actually started from. And I think that's so potent for us to recognize because usually it's like, oh, well, when my dad died or when my parents divorced or when this happened or, but it's usually started way before that. And so they might be those little traumas. Is that fair to say? Or like where the teacher maybe didn't let you speak up or told you to be quiet or something like that. Could you share with us what those things that we don't think are really big things might look
Mm.
like that start the anxiety to
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is a great example. I had a client who will remain nameless and identificationless, but essentially she had this noticeable catastrophization that would come over her. So she was an amazing high achiever, had done really well in her career, and she would notice that there would be these moments where she had the pressure of an upcoming, almost like she thought it was all about exam stress. And in high school, the way she would feel with an upcoming exam or a test, needing to really be prepared and get it all right. And she felt the same way with any work projects. And here she was now in her 40s, right? So like living like this much later in life. And when we explored, I mean, I knew it wasn't just the exam stress. And we often, if we think, oh, I feel that pressure because that's how I was in high school, let's go back even further because there were things that impacted you. And with her particular case, it was actually, and it took 2 to 3 sessions for us to really delve in. And these sessions go 2 to 4 hours, but we got there.
Mm-hmm.
And we figured out that when she was a very little child, from the moment she could understand relational dynamics and what was going on in the world, she understood one of the first things she knew was that she had a much older father. I think he was about, in his 50s, 60s when she was born. So she understood the message, and for in whatever way, that he wasn't going to be around for her whole life, that he would be dying in, a couple of decades, but by the time she left high school, that kind of thing, right? So I'm kind of like doing the maths in my head. Am I saying that correctly? But you get the gist of
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying. She had this sense of dad's going to slip away. Dad's not going to be here. Maybe it was a family member. Someone said something around, that means that when you're 18, he's going to be in his 80s, right? So there's these subtle things that we pick up. And so from a very young age, she had this sense like this person who I rely on for support and care and love and my survival isn't going to be here my whole life. And so I've got to protect myself. And we figure, and also as a 2 or 3 year old understanding this information, how on earth are you going to protect yourself? You literally can't at 2 or 3 years old, but we take upon ourselves this responsibility because we don't feel safe and we need to somehow survive, and our mind kicks in to try and help us survive. So her way of coping and surviving was, I will achieve massive success. I have to be the best. I have to be really good at everything. I have to make sure I attain that security for myself. And if I'm not the best, I'm going to die. Like I won't survive, I won't live. So there's the catastrophization that was carried on through adulthood and basically formulated as a 2 or 3 year old's logic, with that level of logic. And so as we get to our adult years, we can rationalize, we can consciously choose, and we can actually go back to the seeds of those moments and upgrade that logic, change what story we were telling, and realize, okay, at 2 or 3 years old, you couldn't do anything about that. You genuinely needed protective adults around you who were going to bring you food and shelter you and take care of you if you were sick. But now as an adult, yes, you still need those things, but you've got so much capability, so much power, choice, freedom to go after those things. We don't need to be in this sort of helpless state that a lot of us stay locked into. So it could be something as simple as knowing, like she had beautiful parents, supportive, loving parents, but knowing dad was going to pass away much sooner than her mum, or much sooner than a lot of us might say is natural. But it could be also things like maybe you had parents that would fight, and it wasn't about you. And they would say, this isn't about you. This is just us and our relationship. And you would watch them fight. But it's the helplessness of watching them fight, feeling that pain and feeling completely disregarded and dismissed. Because in that moment, your parents are both acting like children, not acting like parents, not caring for your emotional well-being and your needs. And so a child learns in that situation, watching the parents fight, well, I'm not the priority. I'm not important. My needs don't matter. Their emotional needs come first. And that's where we start stuffing down our feelings. We often become carers, healers. We're the ones trying to look out for everyone else, maybe becoming responsible for younger siblings, taking care of them. Another key one would be being given a job that you can't do at an age where it's not appropriate, even though it might seem totally fine. Maybe dad wanted you to help him in the tool shed and gave you all the tools and you didn't know how to do it, or you couldn't lift something, and you feel the weight of expectation that you're meant to be able to do this, but you're 6 years old.
Mm.
And in that moment, you learn, I should be able to do this. I can't do this. There's something wrong with me. When in fact, if we logically look at that, you're 6 years old, you're not meant to be able to lift something heavy or be able to use these tools in the way an adult can. You're allowed to learn that as you get older, and it's okay to not know. So these are some examples.
Beautiful.